searching for a lost baby otter. Mole and rat follow the sounds of piping to an island in the river. This is their story. Then, suddenly, the mole felt a great awe fall upon him, an awe that turned his muscles to water, bowed his head, and rooted his feet to the ground. It was no panic terror. Indeed, he felt wonderfully at peace and happy. But it was an awe that smote and held him. And without seeing, he knew it could only mean that some august presence was very, very near. With difficulty, he turned to look for his friend and saw him at his side, cowed, stricken, and trembling violently. And still, there was utter silence in the populous bird-haunted branches around them. And still, the light grew and grew. Perhaps he would never have dared to raise his eyes, but that though the piping was now hushed, the call and the summons seemed still dominant and imperious. He might not refuse, were death himself waiting to strike him instantly once he had looked with mortal eyes on things rightly kept hidden. Trembling, he obeyed and raised his humble head, and then, in utter clearness of the imminent dawn, while nature, flushed with fullness of incredible color, seemed to hold her breath for the event, he looked in the very eyes of the friend and helper, saw the backward sweep of the curved horns gleaming in the glowing daylight, saw the stern hooked nose between the kindly eyes that were looking down on them humorously, while the bearded mouth broke into a half-smile at the corners. Saw the rippling muscles on the arm that lay across the broad chest, the long, supple hand still holding the panpipes, only just fallen away from the parted lips. Saw the splendid curves of the shaggy limbs disposed in majestic ease on the sward. Saw, last of all, nestling between his very hoofs, sleeping soundly in entire peace and contentment, the little brown, podgy, childlike form of the baby otter. All this he saw, for one moment breathless and intense, vivid on the morning sky. And still, as he looked, he lived. And still, as he lived, he wondered. "Rat," he found breath to whisper, shaking, "are you afraid?" "Afraid?" muttered the rat, his eyes shining with unutterable love. "Afraid? Of him? Oh, never, never!" And yet, oh, Mole, I am afraid. Then the two animals crouched to the ground, bowed their heads, and did worship.